Hi folks, I'm going to look at another traditional knife today, but it's different. It has its own little quirky take on what's traditional. Traditionals can fall into different categories. Some, like this here, the Barlow design, this particular one being a Sheffield made one, is a design that goes back to the middle of the 17th century. I think it was sort of 1650s, 1660s, when a chap called Obadiah Barlow apparently invented this style, the teardrop with the long bolster. This, what's now called the sodbuster, which is a name given it by Case in the 20th century, it's a sort of 300-year-old German, Austrian design. This one's made by Karl Schlieper in Solingen. This theoretically is a Solingen knife, but it was actually handmade in Spain, but by Puma, who are an old Solingen company. I think the design on this one is rather more modern. GEC making very classic designs, but in a very traditional way, small batches, a lot of hand finishing. Actually, what are called, these are all, so far, are all hafted knives. In other words, somebody has put them on a finishing wheel and actually ground them all so that all the edges are smooth, the transitions are quite perfect, and so forth. More recently, we have traditional style knives, often known as modern traditionals, like the Proper here, which is a factory made knife, factory ground blades or machine ground blades, and then they're assembled rather than being hafted, so all the pieces are made fairly accurately and then put together. So rather than being put on a grinding wheel so that everything's smooth, they're manufactured so they're pretty close to smooth, but honestly not perfect. There are exceptions to that, and the PK70 here it comes at the Taichung factory that both Enzo and Spyderco use, and they produce machine-made knives which are absolutely perfect. I don't believe these are finished on a linisher. They could be, but the fit and finish is superb by over factory. Now what I've got today is just a different take on how to do it all together. Now, it comes in a little pouch named De Villiers. Now, Andre De Villiers is a South African knife maker who is famous for his butcher's blades, and this is no exception. What is different is that in the main he is known for making huge tactical butcher's blades which are big enough, they look like weapons of war. This, on the other hand, is kind of at the opposite extreme. It's a tiny little baby. Now, this is, I think, the smallest knife he makes. There may be a record breaker, but certainly if you try and buy one of his knives today, particularly in the UK, there are two sizes that are common. This one and this one. Now, this is the mini, this is the pocket. The pocket, which I've done a video of already, but I'll do another one because it wasn't very good, is a 3-inch bladed knife, and actually in the hand there's a fair bit of heft to that. And if I compare that to a Swiss Army knife, you'll see the Swiss Army knife is, looks like a little baby in comparison. So when you bring this little thing along, when this comes to the party, it's got a remarkably strong spring for something so small, but it's quite easy to open because of there's plenty of blade to grab, and you've also got the fuller, which acts as the nail nick, if you like, is deep and it's on both sides of the knife. But compared to the MP, this thing is so small. What it does share with the MP, other than a very similar style, certainly to the handle, obviously a different blade shape, the larger knife is available in the butcher's blade, and the little one is available in the impy blade. But setting the blade shape apart, in terms of the handle style, very, very similar. There's slight differences to the machining on the tip here, and that there's an extra bit machined round the back of the tip, which isn't on this knife here, and there's also a slight kick at the front here to this machined part, which isn't on the butcher's version, but otherwise very, very similar. Something else you'll notice is that these parts which are machined out here, and the fullers all have a sort of bead blasted finish, as do these grooves across here and here have the bead blasted finish, whereas this is a sort of satin semi-polish, and we have a satin finish on the cutting edge of the blades. Where they differ from traditional knives is that the oops, you want to focus? Any chance? The oops, hold on. Just try and get the focus to work. Yeah, the liners and the bolsters are a single piece. So there's only 6 pieces to these knives, plus the pins and the shield. But you've a blade, a back spring, and then on either side you've got one liner come bolster on both sides, and the 2 scales. So there's only 6 pieces in total, whereas the traditional knife, that would have been another 4, so you'd have 10 pieces. So, but they're just beautifully machined, so as a result you have no gapping, no fit and finish issues. Pretty close to perfect. So in terms of what we got here, now obviously we've got the butcher's blade, we've got De Villiers' name on one ricasso, and on the other, I need to turn it up the other way because the writing's upside down, we have Mini Butcher, if it would focus, Mini Butcher, and on the other side, so it gets to focus, and then we have N690 for the type of steel there. So it's a lovely, lovely little knife. Since I got this, it's gained an awful lot of pocket time, despite the fact I have an awful lot of other knives to choose from. I do like this, and it's the one that I carry in my trouser pocket, so that if I want to reach out for a little knife to open something, I can use that. It is completely non-threatening. As I say, it even makes my Swiss Army knife look like a sword. And I do like carrying this one as well, but this one I always feel a little bit as though I'm pulling out some sort of it feels like I'm pulling out some sort of dagger, because it's so big. It's not just that it's got a heft and a weight to it. And funnily enough, this little one, even though it's so small, it would be hard to say it's worth the price, because they're hideously expensive. If I hadn't got this from the Apostle P, I wouldn't have this knife. They're I think they cost in the UK from £250 or £260 upwards, so I just wouldn't have one. But there's a way in which it feels like there is a value to it in your hand. It's got a quality finish to it, and a degree of weight to it that kind of makes it feel like it's worth something. Is it worth a PK 70 and a proper, and a handcrafted Barlow, or I mean, you could almost have my mother of pearl Barlow and a GEC for the same money. Maybe not. And as I say, I think if I'd had to go out and buy it retail, no, I wouldn't own it. This maybe, but this little baby, I think not. I think it would still be sitting in a retailer's shop. All that being said, they do make some with mother of pearl scales and a Damascus blade, and they are nice, but they're super expensive. So that is my latest addition to my collection, the Andre De Villiers mini butcher with about a 2-inch blade. So there we are. Thank you.